Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a Void Battle. We haven't seen one of these in a while. It is the bottom tier group, but they are not bottom tier in terms of excitement. Should be a good time. We got Team Mythic against Disastrous Gang Academy. Mythic looking for their first win. Disastrous Gang looking to try to secure that first place seed going into the playoffs, which do start this Saturday. So we are coming up to the end of the season. I am Jarl Carl alongside True Light for the evening.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Like as you said, they're Disastrous Gang or Scanning, right? Disastrous Gang. Yeah.
Yes.
They are looking to lock in that first place seed for themselves. They've already hit that playoff berth. Those are not exactly errors on the side of Disastrous Gang's bans. They are using a substitute, and as a result, have lost all three of their bans heading into this. Mythic, on the other side of things, that is supposed to be a Lucian ban, Ornn and Jarvan. So hitting multiple roles with their bans, but they first picked that Caitlyn, that classical, like just that S tier 80 carry pick in the meta currently. But DGA, they answer with Xayah Rakan. Haven't seen that in a little bit.
Yeah, that's something that we typically see surpassed in favor of the Ashe, right? The Caitlyn Ashe combo or matchup is something we see in the bot lane virtually every game these days. I'm very excited to see the Xayah Rakan. I think it's very, very strong. Xayah receiving some buffs in the next patch, so that will be out tomorrow, I do believe. So, a little bit early on those. Caitlyn also receiving some nerfs next patch, so it's your last chance to play the super broken Caitlyn. Alistar, the answer. I kind of like this. You can kind of interrupt the Rakan, although it doesn't do a whole lot against the ultimate. Unfortunately, is a little bit too quick usually to headbutt away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the case of Rakan, as you said, Grand Entrance can be interrupted, although you need to be very much on point with it. In the case of Alistar, you really kind of need to practically preempt the ability by getting the headbutt or the pulverize down. But one thing that I do think is rather interesting is this is Rakan coming in after receiving a movement speed buff on the quickness, his ultimate. So maybe they feel like that'll push Rakan up that much more. At least in regards to maybe chasing down a Caitlyn who likes to stay at range. On the other side of things, there's another pick that we haven't seen in a little bit with the Yorick coming in from Mythic.
I'm not sold on the Yorick. I've seen it a couple times in solo queue. It's kind of just not better at anything than a lot of the meta top laners are. So I'm a little bit questioning of that. I want to go back to the Xayah Rakan. As a bot laner, I like Xayah Rakan. I think it's very strong, especially if you're, well practiced on it. I think it provides a ton of damage, and it's something that really punishes mistakes very well. There's, some bot lanes like Pantheon support, they punish mistakes very, very easily, right? You're a little bit too far forward. You're going to get stunned. You're going to get crowd controlled, and Xayah's going to one-shot you. If Rakan knocks up either Alistar or Caitlyn in the early game before level 6, especially for Alistar, that's going to be a one-shot pretty much coming through with Ignite. So I'm looking forward to that combo in the bot lane. I think we're going to see a lot of fighting down there. Virtually impossible that we're just going to see a farm lane, given these two supports. They're both very aggressive. I also like the Sejuani pick, just a nice team fight comp coming together right now for Disastrous Gang.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you said there, Disastrous Gang, they have a team fight comp being crafted, right? With Rakan being able to engage with Grand Entrance and the quickness. With Xayah having Feather Storm available, as well as the potential roots coming through from the Feather, I think it's Blade Caller, Feather Caller, one of those. And then Sejuani as well, just being, as you said, a classical strong team fighting jungler. But something that is a bit of an interesting contrast, right, is that Mythic, they've gone for something that's dominant in lane with Caitlyn Alistar. And I do think that in general, Yorick tries to bully his lane, having such natural degrees of sustain, as well as that auto reset hitting surprisingly hard in combination with tossing down that blob of mist, as well as the maiden when Yorick finally hits 6. So a little bit more lane dominance coming through on the side of Mythic here.
I would love to see the Shen pick from DGA. I think it would do fine against the Yorick. I don't think he's under that much threat. He can throw out the Shroud to provide some safety for himself. I think this comp right now from DGA is almost exactly what they need, right? The Xayah is completely set up to carry. She has her lover at her side. You have a giant team fight comp with two massive tanks. I think if you rounded this out with like a Syndra or something in the mid lane, could be even stronger. Just the amount of damage. I think you want some kind of a battle mage, a Syndra and a Zee or something like that in the mid lane. Even a Corki, I think, could be okay. I think would really round this comp out. The Lysandra allows that as well. You're not going to be going for an assassin at any rate. I think DGA really have the upper hand so far in the draft.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Like everything that DGA has drafted for themselves looks to be this clear, concise plan of what they want to get done as the game goes on. As you said, that bot lane very good at punishing. In the top lane so far, Shen is, I think, as we have discussed on multiple occasions at this point, a top laner that can do a little bit of everything, right? He can fight 1v1, he can engage with Sejuani using Stand United, but he can also be an additional tool to keep Xayah safe. Even if the Featherstorm has been burned, you can just cast Stand aside if they're trying to throw Lissandra and Vi onto her. But DGA, they round out their composition. Not quite with the Syndra as you were hoping for, but they do go for an assassin pick, the LeBlanc into a Lissandra, which I find is rather aggressive and ambitious.
I think ambitious is the right word for it. LeBlanc's team fighting is not bad. I think she's, more on the mage side, battle mage, than some assassins are, right? Like an Akali, more assassin, like Katarina, very much assassin, like not in that kind of dodge in and out team fight style. I think LeBlanc is, is able to do damage in team fights if she's able to get some distortions off, but she doesn't have a lot of good targets in this one, right? Alistar can CC, or Lissandra can CC, or if I clicks on her, that can be very scary as well. So I think the burden of execution is pretty high for this LeBlanc. I don't hate the pick, but I do think it makes their comp a little bit less than it potentially could have been.
Yeah, one of those classical things that they tell you when you're learning League of Legends, hopefully they tell you anyway, is that something that counters mobility is point and click CC, and Mythic certainly isn't lacking in it. As you mentioned there, Alistar has Headbutt into Pulverize, Lissandra has her Ring of Frost, which is AoE, but it's very forgiving. It's a very large AoE, but then also casting her Frozen Tomb is easy point and click CC, large AoE damage, and then for Vi as well, having Assault and Battery is a very potent lockdown tool, and I think they definitely can use that to punish LeBlanc if they go in. But I would be more given to the opinion that they're going to try to bait out Featherstorm as early as possible, throw all their damage onto Xayah, especially the later the game is, and potentially the more that LeBlanc's damage has fallen off if they're not snowballing.
Yeah, for sure. It's, the snowball, very important here. I think, the Ring of Frost, you mentioned, it's AoE. That thing's not a skill shot. It's just, it stops every time the distortion comes through. LeBlanc should get stuck, theoretically. We'll see how that works. I think the only thing that you can maybe see with the LeBlanc is if you get Vi to ult the clone, or Lissandra to ult the clone, I think could be strong, but I think LeBlanc will have just trouble doing anything in team fights. I don't think the champion is a bad team fighter, but I think right here she's going to have trouble, and I think this comp is very reliant on Xayah to do damage.
Yeah, and definitely I think that DG have drafted the tools for themselves to keep Xayah as safe as they can, just between Shen and Rakan. Rakan having that increased range with Battle Dance giving more flexibility to play defensively for Fisher mode on the Xayah here. But otherwise, I think, as we mentioned, it's really on the side of Mythic to lock down that priority target in the Xayah, right? Because if the Xayah isn't locked down, the protracted fight, at least in my opinion, goes more and more in the favor of Disastrous if the Xayah stays alive, especially in those late game fights where Xayah's hitting that 3-4 item point, is able to get down a ton of feathers, a ton of DPS, and can very much punish an out of position, let's say a Yorick or an Alistar who've tried to commit and weren't able to keep themselves alive.
Yeah, for sure. On the other hand, Xayah does very well against the engage. For a while. Only for a while, right? There's a lot of waves that can come through here, right? And if you're forcing out the ultimate with a Vial, then you still have the Lissandra ult. You still have the Alistar combo. You can still kind of put her in a cage with the Yorick ability. That'll just, deny her some time to be doing DPS. And that's the goal in this fight, is just in these fights is to deny Fisher mode time to auto attack. You don't even necessarily need to kill him, right? Make him use the ultimate, make him use a summoner, make him play way farther back, because if he's not doing DPS, your Caitlyn definitely is, hopefully. And that's probably what you want. I think it will be hard to kill Fisher mode just because of Featherstorm plus Stand United from the Living Dead guy on the Shen. Likely it's just going to be more of a zone keeper from doing damage kind of a fight, especially when Rakan goes in, right? If she's able to get a ton of damage out when the Grand Entrance and the quickness come through, you're in trouble. But if you can get her to stay in the backline, not really use the Zeeks, not really benefit off that, I think this is a more manageable fight. But a lot of this starts in the early game, right? You do not want to let this Xayah Rakan get very far ahead, or it's just going to be curtains. They do so much damage if they get ahead of the curve. Xayah basically just turns into a turret.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Zaya can definitely just be that champion that totally controls out the fight. That being considered, though, I think we've kind of hashed out the point, right? Mythic, they do want to try to dogpile on the Zaya, force it away as far as possible. But otherwise, I do think they have that game plan. That is their win condition to force things through right there. Otherwise, DG they just want to fight, orient themselves towards that team fighting prowess, and get that done for themselves.
Yeah, certainly are. I think we can move away, like you said, from talking about this bot lane matchup and how important Fisho mode is to the team, because that's all we've talked about so far. I want to talk about this top lane matchup. I don't think Yorick will get anything done. Because I don't know how you beat Shen, essentially, in the 1v1. He's going to be able to do the Shadow Dash on you, pull the Q through. We've seen Shen like 1v1ing Darius with Grasp and the Q proc. I don't think Wolfie is going to get anything done in this game, and I just think there's better picks. The Maiden split push. How do you split push against Shen? He has so many ways to join fights. It doesn't really matter. If you're in the split push, because he's always going to be there. You're never going to have teleport advantage over him. And so I think that is also an extremely interesting matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see how it shapes up. As just to recap, right? Mythic, they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. But on the other side, even though DG, they've already locked in playoffs for themselves, they want to get that first place seed in their group.
Yeah, they definitely do. First place, very important. We're going to step aside as we load into game number 1. We'll be back in a couple of minutes on the Rift. Welcome on to the Rift, everybody. Game number 1 coming your way. We are locked and loaded for this clash on the Rift. In the Void group, Team Mythic on the blue side looking for their first win. Disastrous Gang Academy on the red side looking to defend their second place spot in the Void group going into playoffs, which again start on Saturday. So be sure to check that out. Jarl Carl alongside True Light for the call.
Yeah, as you said, DG, they're actually working to just keep that second place spot for themselves. Thank you for the correction. But otherwise, getting out onto the Rift here, nothing too shocking in terms of keystones overall. Although I think you do see Brecken there having the Hail of Blades on Vi. I generally think that's just so you can get the Denting Blows passive and proc the additional attack speed for yourself, as well as shred through that armor, which is just a lot of nice damage coming in early on in the game. Otherwise, you can see that Fisho mode bought the Cull early, which is, I think, on its own quite surprising, just because I don't usually see Cull on a champion that isn't opting in for the cut down. And between Caitlyn and Xayah here, you can actually see, even with that Doran's Blade, Pandas does have equal health to Fisho mode in this lane.
Yep, Caitlyn, the lowest health AD carry, and Xayah, one of the highest. So, you add 90 to one, take away 90 from the other one, and I think it's 80 actually. Add 80, subtract 80, and you are even. So, just a bit of a difference there. I think the cut down is still good in this game just because Alistar has high health. A lot of these champions have pretty high health, and we'll be building some health statistics. So, I don't hate that actually as a choice. I think this lane will be fine for them to go call in as well. I don't think they're going to be under that much threat of dying. So overall, I don't actually hate it. Although in lane, specifically, the cut down will not work on the animated carry.
Yeah, and sometimes it's those small advantages that really make a difference. And perhaps, as you said there, official mode thinking, well, even if it's not about hitting the Caitlyn super hard, hitting the number of enemy champions is very important regardless. So potentially opting in for that. But engage here in the bot lane.
Not the start you want to see if you are Xayah or Khan. Panda's taking so much damage. Fisher mode going to get ignited, though. Exhaust down as well from Poiba. Bit of a summoner trade. Coming out on top, actually, for Disastrous Gang, although they do lose more health on the AD.
Yeah, nice offensive trade going through there from Pandas and Bozai. Or Bobzai, my bad. But as you can see right there, Poiba with that grand entrance and then using the battle dash, that's just that easy recombo. Go in, get back out, haven't taken much damage. But I do think it's nice to see a degree of aggression from Alistar early. I actually really like Alistar as a champion, but something that's just such a classical problem with him is that he's kind of abusable very early in the game.
Yeah, certainly is true. I see gank in the top lane. Living Dead guy. Shadow Dash goes down. Floresca is here. Wolfie taking a lot of damage. Trading some back, though. Going to get stunned up. I think he had to burn the flash a little bit earlier. First blood in favor of the Living Dead guy. 1-0 now on the Shen.
Yeah, always nice to get that first blood going through right there. And as you said, Living Dead guy. And let's see, Floresca. Oh.
They're a little engaged in the bot line. Yeah, they're fine. They're going to keep doing that all game. At some point, they're going to go down, but for now, they're okay.
It's always when you see those stun stacks, though. It's like, do you think Alistar's going to keep walking on you and look for that auto? Yeah, as you said there, Lithy Floresca coming in, getting that gank down. One thing that works for Sejuani every single time in regards to having a melee laner to work with is you get those additional stun stacks down and are able to proc the stun that much faster. It enabled them to get that first blood kill onto Wolfie, but he didn't burn any summoners.
Brecken taking a lot of damage in the jungle. I expect this to be a kill. Ignite's got to go down from Perma. Autofill the flash. Ignite could be a bit of a dubstep on this one, picking up the kill. Vi goes down. Blue buff for the LeBlanc.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to feel great for Perma Autofill right there. Get the nice little bump of AP on the Dark Seal that he somehow got the back off for and staying relatively even on CS, which is nice. But then in addition to that, you also have that Corrupting Potion charge. So going to be, or only one charge left in that Corrupting Potion, sorry. So having that blue buff enables the aggression to go through.
Gank time in the bot lane. Bob trying to get himself away, but he's going to get rooted up and stunned. Fisho mode. The kill goes over to him.
Yeah, and I really like that Lithophorescence here is being so proactive on this Sejuani. Usually you don't see the pick being aggressive in lanes or getting a ton of ganks off early just off the value of whoa.
That's a lot of damage. Perma autofill just kind of dies where he stands. That was a little bit of a fake turret dive gone very wrong.
Yeah, like that was just Ring of Frost in that particular situation, working very much against perma autofill right there because I think he distortion forward, thinking he was on the very edge of the turret aggro circle, ended up being just inside it. Took I think 2 turret shots there with the heat up damage. It was very easy for Papapus to be in an advantage given those tower shots. Brecken comes in, finds the punch, gets the kill, and kind of equalizes the lane, so to speak, for Papa there in the mid lane.
Yeah,
Ooh.
another chain goes down. They're not able to take the second follow through on that Claw of Doom. The flash forced out instead.
Yeah, Flash forced out right there because with Glacial Path, if you get CC'd while the path is still going through, you obviously can't cast or recast for the mobility for the blink away, forced Papa's flash away from perma autofill. And now I think it's, yeah, both of them don't have flash at this point. Although Papa finally hitting 6 does have his ultimate available, which can use or be used either defensively or offensively, depending on the situation.
Indeed, dive coming through. It's another dive gone wrong. LeBlanc dies once again.
Yeah, and that is just way too much aggression from perma autofill there. I don't hate the aggression. I don't hate looking for it, but the problem was I think that he assumed that Papa was completely out of mana, but it turned out Papa had just enough mana to cast Frozen Tomb, stun perma autofill under the tower, and then get Ring of Frost off as well for the nice little chunk of damage. Gets that electrocute proc. Oh,
Floresca going in a little bit late. Flash for the stun to follow. This might not be enough damage. Papa coming in. Very scuffed play there by Floresca. They're going to continue the dive. Poiba picking up the kill. Standing United. Shadow Dash goes a little bit wide. Exhaust goes down. Not going to make any difference. Fisho mode picking up a second kill. Floresca staying alive just barely for now, but the team is coming to say hello. Smite on the Raptor to buy a little bit of health. It's a 4v2 in this jungle. Perma autofill has arrived on the scene. Chain going down. That's a double root from the Blade Caller. Poiba jumping in as well. Autofill trying to get himself away. Panda's going to go down. Fisho mode now on a killing spree. This Xayah really starting to come online. Perma autofill. He's got to wait for a couple of cooldowns. Does he have the W? Does he have the Q? Oh, might be going down again. Once again, living up to the name. He is dead.
yeah. Although that play, as you said, looked a little bit scuffed very early on. Top lane.
Speaking of scuffed, Wolfie just lost 90% of his health. Once again to the turret. The turrets are coming up huge today, Truelight.
Yeah, turrets are huge in this game. They're absolutely massive. But as far as that fight in the jungle extending in towards that mid lane inner turret is concerned, once again, it wasn't perma autofill in this case. It was actually Lithy Floresca getting aggressive. I think wasn't able to take the red buff in that situation, but was there trying to mess with Brecken. Almost hard committed, almost over committed, looking for that dive, but with the stand united as well as Poiba and Fisho mode coming in to salvage that play. They don't lose a single person up until the very end, which was perma autofill dying once again under tower. But all that being considered, it's a kill score of 3-7, and you can see there DG at 2K ahead around 6 minutes, which is pretty comfortable.
Yeah, certainly is. All things considered, a very nice play for DGA. Just a little bit of over-aggression from Perma Autofill, who has died 3 times in a row to a turret. So, that's not a stat that you see every day. Trying to go in a little bit more onto Papa. Ultimate expended, but nothing to be found from that. I think so far this LeBlanc pick has been relatively underwhelming. Hasn't gotten a whole lot done with it. Brecken now in the mid lane, so this could go badly real quick. Junglers might meet once again in that jungle. Brecken getting himself away. Little Arctic assault from Floresca, trying to chill them out, but it's not going to work out. Everybody walks away.
Yeah, and one thing that I think I forgot to mention in terms of the Keystones runes there is that you see that Papa went for the very aggressive Keystone on Lissandra in terms of the Electrocute. And that works very well for the champion just because you can combo your abilities down very quickly, get that additional extra burst of Electrocute, and possibly rather secure a kill off of it. But something you see a little more commonly, at least in my experience still, is that Lysandra players are still fine with opting into Aftershock just because it gives them that additional survivability. It also works rather well into a lot of assassin picks because you proc the Aftershock, you take less damage, you have your Zanyas and Frozen Tomb, but wow.
That Frozen Tomb was necessary. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, it's going to be the 2 versus 3 Fisher mode. You've got to use the Featherstorm at the right moment. Sandy United is on his back as well. Quickness is out. Fisher mode staying alive for a little while longer. He has to get up into the air. Finally does so. Bob taken very low. Teleport coming through as well. It's going to be the 4 versus 3, 4 versus 2 right now. The shutdown comes through. That is Pandas picking that up. The best target possible. Floresca has arrived on the scene, but it's a 3 versus 4 still. Nothing more really to be done here. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Papa taking so much damage. Just gets one shot back to the bot side. LeBlanc coming up huge in that mid. Living Dead guy getting himself away. Floresca as well, trying to kite themselves back. Engage could come through. Breck can dive in the tower. Shadow Dash away. Floresca has to get themselves out at the same time. Going back in for a little bit too much more. Poiba blocking the ace in the hole. Very tenuous retreat. Works out in the end for DGA. 1 kill traded on across the map.
Yeah, Mythic right there. You can see that Pandas actually flashed forward as the fight continued to break out and the Featherstorm had been used. So flash forward, gets the auto attack off, seals the kill with the Pilt over Peacemaker. And that's kind of reflective of what we thought would be an issue for DGA in team fights, right? Once Xayah goes down, where's the damage going to come from? Especially considering that Perma Autofill was in mid lane, as you said, got that 1v1 outplay, so to speak, using his own tower, finally getting that in for him, but they weren't able to convert on it.
This is a very classic move. Everybody go and watch the dragon die, folks. Then you're just going to get yourself killed. At the same time, if you cannot contest the dragon, don't contest the dragon. Just go somewhere else. It's going to be okay, I promise. Perma Autofill, they get hit by the Glacial Tomb as well, potentially, as the Assault and Battery is almost available. Not going to be quite enough. Papa doing a lot of damage, though, taking some back in return. Floresca's on the scene.
Yeah, Floresca coming in here. Whoa, that was a flash.
Going in, folks. Papa is taking down Assault and Battery on a Perma Autofill, able to get himself back to that distortion. Sun goes down. You got to be careful from that E damage from Vi. Mr. LeBlanc in the mid lane gets himself away. Another kill on the mid laner.
Yeah, that was very surprising from Floresca to go forward right there. And as you can see, it looks like Perma Autofill almost committed at the exact same time with his own flash. So a little bit of that mid-jungle synergy going through to make sure that Papa does end up dying for the aggression in the mid lane there. Very nice to see from DGA. Otherwise, if you're Mythic, I think you're just trying to stay alive. As you can see, not the greatest spot for Caitlyn to be down in CS, but Panda is able to play rather aggressively. You just saw using that 90 caliber net to go forward, which is just rather uncommon overall, but a potential punish here on the Rift Herald.
Yep, down to 3,500 HP, 3 versus 2 for the time being. Perma Autofill is on their way. Ultimate's not available except for the Maiden, so Brecken just going to have that Q, get himself forward. I think they're just going to reset this Herald and start once again. Doesn't look like we're going to see any more festivities. Wolfie could be in some trouble, actually. A little bit caught out from his team, taking so much damage. The stun is ready on the point and click. Is it in range? Looks like it's not. Q charged up from Vi. Perma Autofill over the wall, goes back with a distortion, baiting out that Q. Wolfie could be in some trouble. That's the commitment from Floresca, though. Ultimates are available for the side of DGA. That is that Glacial Prison. Autofill still on the back line. Nobody knows what they want to do. This is turning into a very true dance here. Floresca's got to get themselves away, but they're stuck in the cage. Shadow Dash away. Glacial Tomb is too much. Brecken getting out of the turret, though, at the end of that one. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, we got fights across the map. Directed cameras just taking us back to the top. Wolfie going to be going very low. Back to the bot side, I should say. Unbreakable Will was tossed down by Bob. Oh, the pullback on the blade. It's not enough into the turret. Fish mode. Oh, but he's got the Featherstorm. What a great play from that one. Playba, though, gonna die to the turret, and a comedy of errors in the bot lane. The ace in the hole to finish off the kill. Back to the mid. We have Sandy United coming back through. That's the Shadow Dash and the kill. Perma Autofill coming back into this game. 6-3 now. A wild play across the map.
Yeah, that was an incredibly protracted fight on both sides. Up towards that Rift Herald, you can see that Wolfie, Brecken, and Papa were playing around with Living Dead Guy, Floresca, and to an extent, Perma Autofill, just going back and forth. Like, do we commit for the fight? Do we go back for the Rift Herald? And by the time they made the decision to commit forward, they are able to lock down Floresca in the fight. But Living Dead Guy stayed alive, and Perma Autofill finally arrived from the mid lane, able to snap up the kills, especially when Living Dead Guy, as you saw right there, comes back in with the Stand United. Down bottom lane, just a pretty interesting play overall happening right there. Bob Zai finding a huge punish, getting it looked like the flash pulverized off onto both Fisho mode and Poiba, headbutting Fisho mode back into tower range, forcing him to use the Feather Storm, ends up going down as Poiba tried to play defensively, tried to lock down the kill onto Pandas as well, ended up falling to the tower, and then the ace in the hole wrapped up the Zaya.
Perma autofill. It could be in some trouble. Glacial Tomb goes down. Ring of Frost as well. Popping out, trying to get themselves out. That's a huge burst. From the LeBlanc. This Luden's Echo is starting to hurt. Brecken trying to get himself away, but I don't think it's going to be successful. Perma autofill picking up the red buff. Huge win in the mid lane for DGA.
Yeah, Papa just getting a little bit too aggressive over and over and over again at this point. And in this situation, you saw Glacial Path went forward, then casting the Frozen Tomb onto Perma Autofill. But TP was being channeled. If you actually look at it again, Brecken was already walking away because the TP had started. And then the definite nail in the coffin for Papa was using Ring of Frost so early as a bit of follow-up damage rather than attempting to preempt Living Dead guy. But whoa, Wolfie gets run down.
Yeah, that taunt under the turret is quite strong. Pandas could be in some trouble here. The burst combo, is it enough? Is the ignite available? Waits for the chain, he needs one more auto. Will he get the chance to cast it? No, he will not. Piltover Peacemaker shuts down the situation.
Yeah, huge shutdown going into Panda's pocket right there. Once again, aggression from Perma Autofill, looking for the assassination, which is what LeBlanc is supposed to do. Don't get me wrong, but happenstance being what it is, Bob Zai was there to provide the initial headbutt, and then Papa Poos comes in, gets the Ring of Frost, gets the additional damage down. Perma Autofill just ends up going down to that Piltover Peacemaker. Nice chunk of gold into Panda's pocket, and the dragon has spawned, and it's going to be a Cloud Rift for this one.
It will be, and this could be sole point right now for the side of Team Mythic. They haven't looked that great in this game, but objective-wise, they are really cooking. Floresca going back to base right now. I guess they're just giving this up on the side of DGA, but soon you can't do that anymore, folks. You're on sole point. You got to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, and not just that, you can also see that Bob's Eye right there. Like, think about every single one of these champions with a potential Cloud Soul. Wolfie, maybe it doesn't seem all too vital, but assume he's in a 1v1, right? You cast the Maiden of the Mist, you get the Mist slowed down. That's a very, very straightforward engage onto whoever he's trying to fight. In the case of Papa Poos, it can mean additional movement speed to get away. But then for Bob's Eye, I think if you cast Unbreakable Will with something, let's say a Zeke's going on around you, there's so much potential for the slow, allowing the burn to come through additionally from Pandas, if that's how it's going to work. But on the other side of things, I actually think a Cloud Soul potentially could be even more meaningful for the side of DG, although that's a very long path to get there, as they haven't gotten a single Drake in this game. And now Mythic, as you said, they've gone up to this soul point, which is going to force the DGA to respond to the next dragon when it spawns in 4 minutes.
I think this is pretty much the only win condition right now for Team Mythic, barring some kind of a miracle fight. Is this soul, maybe into an Elder Dragon? Objective control has been strong for them. That's pretty much the main strong point for them this game. They're going to lose their top lane outer turret right now. No real way to respond to this. Wolfie in the bot lane does not have teleport, so no way he could possibly be joining this one. Panda's trying to clear out the wave. He has that rapid fire cannon completed. He could be in some trouble there. Actually surprised he didn't just get engaged on by the quickness, but the mid lane, Perma Autofill, just kind of messing with Papa. Where's the W? Flash W out of the turret. Very well played there by the LeBlanc. 8-4 now.
Yeah, I think Papa was trying to bait out Perma Autofill a little bit by holding on to Frozen Tomb right there, but Brecken getting caught out.
He is going to not be holding on to his life anymore. Into the Death Chamber. Floresca going to get bopped away from any potential trap by the headbutt. Everybody walks away except for Brecken, who's left on the battlefield.
Yeah, and I think that, like, with the way that these kills are coming through here, it highlights a bit of a problem with Mythic's composition, right? They don't have a real primary tank, a real front line outside of Bob's Eye, right? Wolfie, yeah, sure, he's going to be on the front line, but Yorick is not someone who's going to be team fighting very efficiently. There's a general lack of CC, and all, but there is a little bit of damage, but most of that damage is going to be done to a single target at best. Otherwise, you have Brecken and Papa. Papa Poos is either going to try to use Frozen Tomb defensively as a heal and as a semi Zanyas, but then Brecken as well. You're probably going to be seeing that ability used just to go forward, right? Like you, or to hopefully lock down Fisho mode or potentially punish perma autofill. But there's just not a lot of frontline presence that can stay alive for long enough in a protracted fight on the side of Mythic. But on the other side, for DGA, you have the Shen, you have the Sejuani, who can very much frontline. But then in addition to that, you have Poiba on this Rakan with the Battle Dance, who can shield up, also can act as a little bit of an engage tool with Grand Entrance, as well as the quickness.
Yeah, absolutely. Baron time. Potentially starting very soon. It's only 21 minutes, but this is a comp that has a decent amount of Baron damage, mostly just in the Xayah. As their team, all of their damage is essentially in the Xayah. Just getting some vision control for now, but I think, we're a couple minutes away from the point where you can maybe just start it up a little bit, let the two tanks tank that up for a while, and then just try to bait a fight around it, right? Find a pick with the ultimates from Sejuani, LeBlanc dashing in everywhere, maybe with the Stand United on the head. Perma Autofill going over the wall right now onto Pandas, misses the chain, though. That's going to be the end of that one. Has to go back to the original distortion.
Yeah, the chains probably would have meant the kill onto Pandas there with the ignite. And you can see he still wants to go for it. Okay, didn't get it though.
No.
Yeah, actually, you can see that Perma Autofill. So that's a Medjai's. Wow.
He's feeling it.
Yeah, I mean that's ambitious, so to speak, right? Well, like, I think seeing a Medjai's on an 8-4 LeBlanc is kind of surprising, at least to me in most circumstances.
I agree. Seeing Magi's in general isn't super common. It's a very solo QE item, right? Not as much for a competitive game. Floresca here losing out on that blue buff steal, but I'm a little surprised to see it. I guess he's just confident that he's going to keep rolling through this game, but it can be a big waste of gold if he gets a couple more deaths to his name. He'll be back to 0 stacks, and then that item isn't doing anything, and then you kind of just look foolish. So going to have to avoid going down again. This dragon is up in 20 seconds. It's the soul point.
Yeah, and you can see pings from both teams going around towards it. Bob's Eye right there having the sweeper on, starting to get the vision, clear out as much vision as he can defensively. Although in these tense types of situations, you got to be careful, because if you're busy trying to ward, but the rest of your team isn't behind you, or they're not able to keep you safe, then that can just mean your death, even if you are someone as tanky as Alistair with Unbreakable Will up. But the team that has the inside track looks like it's DGA.
Going in for the fight on this dragon. No contest, actually. Brecken decides not to go for that one. Perma Autofill takes a big headshot in the face, but it doesn't crit. He's going to be just fine. Wolfie pushing in the top.
Yeah, perhaps they decided, okay, we're the ones at Soul Point. It's the enemy team that needs to play towards these dragons. They're the ones who are pressured. We don't need to worry about it too hard. We can keep Wolfie in the top lane. We can keep them interested as long as we have some people hovering around the dragon. But maybe we can start to get a little bit back for ourselves on the map by not contesting too hard. As you can see, they just committed 3 members up towards Wolfie in top lane.
A lot of ultimates being committed as well. I don't think that's really necessary. I'd assume they'll give the kill over to Fisho mode in just a couple of seconds. 1 more auto should be enough. On the bot side, Perma Autofill doing just fine. Doing more than just fine, actually, to keep himself safe. It's a lot of commitment to the top lane, but I don't think they really were punished for it. They might lose the mid lane turret, but those ultimates will come back up.
Yeah, and you can see with all 4 members right there, they have a potential opportunity to look at the Baron, but the pings are going onto that mid lane, right? They want the punish to come through. They want the collapse.
This is going to be the collapse. Collapse, I should say. Panda's in the backline, though, in so much trouble. They're going to go for the one shot onto him. The chain goes down. The heal, I don't think it'll be enough. 1 more sigil. Got to have the cooldowns back available. Finally going to get there. Might get taken down. That's a little bit awkward. I think the clone got ulted, too. I could be wrong with the Stand United, but that is down nonetheless. The taunt goes down onto the cow. He is going to get just turned into beefsteaks. Fisho mode in a killing spree.
Yeah, you can see right there, Perma Autofill just a little bit, as you say, unlucky, looking for the 1v1, although he did find it this time. Whoa!
See you later on the vibe. Brecken taken down. It's just Papa and Wolfie to try to defend this turret. No minions on the other side, so I think that will be the end of this play for a while. I think they're lucky that they didn't lose the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more interesting play, at least in my mind, would just be, hey, we have 4 right here. We can go look for the Baron, send perma autofill to just distortion, clear the minions on the mid lane. They have nothing warded up around here. We can get this easy neutral objective that'll give us additional pushing power. But the other thing that I think Mythic should have considered, right, is that while they were committing 3-4 people top to look for Wolfie, they also had 4 people down towards the bottom lane looking for perma autofill. They had the Lissandra and the Vi. They had the potential to find that lockdown, take down some of those Magi stacks, although they ended up dropping anyway. So very interesting decision making, although they sent Pandas and Bob's Eye over to that mid lane to grab that outer tower rather than get much else done in terms of like just getting like the trade kill overall.
I like the QSS buy a lot from Fisho Mode here. I think the primary goal for him needs to be to stay alive. Sure, he could have the Rapid Fire Cannon or the Phantom Dancer completed right now, but I think the QSS will provide so much more safety if he's getting jumped on by Papa. He doesn't have to use the ultimate necessarily to get away from that ultimate. You can just QSS it and then go into the air if he needs to. The third item, GA from Pandas, I don't love this build. I don't think that GA is really going to help him a whole lot. Sure, he might get one shot at the start of the fight, but these fights haven't been that long and that stationary, right? I think he's just going to come back up and get one shot again by perma autofill. He's just waiting around for it. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I don't love this buy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you insofar as that's concerned, because that's definitely a very legitimate criticism and a very legitimate commentary on the GA. My personal thought, at least for why Pandas might have gone for it. Oh, okay, fight not breaking out.
That is a very aggressive net, though. Nonetheless, stun goes down. Papa into the Glacial Tomb, but Panda's now going to get charmed out. That's a huge quickness across the side. There's the ultimate from Shen as well. Fisho Mode Zanya from Papa, but it's not going to keep him alive for very long. I don't feel might actually stay alive for a lot longer. Tell a lot. Cash Curse on this one. Double kill though. Perma autofill. That GA, not a lot of use.
Yeah, and Wolfie's just stuck in that bottom lane with his Maiden because TP isn't available, potentially just looking to trade the tower off. But that also means, and you can see the pings already going down onto it, it gives DGA the potential opportunity to look for Baron. But, okay, the TP did not get canceled. That would have been pretty sad.
That would have been quite sad, for sure. The Baron is going to be started up. They need to get to the Dragon, though, straight away after this. You do not want to be losing the Soul just to get the Baron. I don't think that's worth it. The Baron's always going to be up. That Soul point will not. So they need to kill this Baron and then book it down to this Dragon. I'm not even sure they're going to have time for recalls at this point. If they can find a pick around it, if Ba is in trouble here, could be going down. If he does get taken down, which it doesn't really look like he's going to anytime soon, the damage from this LeBlanc is very interesting. He is actually going to die at the end of this one. That's very good for their Dragon chances. The Baron goes down. They need to get down to that Dragon in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and you can see there, in the same way that Bob was hovering around looking to just try to get vision towards the Baron, the rest of his team was doing a similar thing, but just a little bit further away. But now they have that inside track. They're looking to get the Soul.
This is a bad play, I feel, by DGA. You can't recall there at the Baron. You got to go straight to the Dragon. That is the Soul going over. The win condition maybe online. Quickness has been started up. Papa taking so much damage. Pandas as well on the backside, but the Lissandra already taken down, as is the Yorick. This Xayah is just hitting like a sack of bricks. 3.5 items on her right now. The Baron buff is on against the Soul.
Yeah, I mean, Fisho Mode, as you said, already hitting that 3.5 item breakpoint, so to speak, onto the Xayah. And such as it is, it's great that Mythic was able to nab up that Soul for themselves, stop any potential additional stacks from going through on the side of DGA. But now that they have the Soul, whoa, that's
later.
But now that they have the Soul, the next Dragon that's going to spawn now in around 5 minutes is going to be the Elder, and that kind of messes with them pretty hard, because I don't think they're combat ready to look for an Elder at the point where they're at. You can see their base is already getting shoved down because they don't have anyone who can be competitive in damage or even lockdown for either Fisho Mode or perma autofill.
Yeah, they are going to lose both inhibitors. The fight going to commence once again. Perma autofill, that's a huge shield on his back. He is going to be just fine. He has flash. He still has the Featherstorm as well. Unstoppable. Perma autofill stacking up that Magi at the end of the game. Brecken nothing he can do. Pandas is just respawning now. He wasn't even available in that fight. One Nexus Tower is going down. Second Nexus Tower under fire. The quickness is available as well. Wolfie flashing himself out. Panda's trying to put in the auto attacks, but he just needs so much time to get anything actually done. They finally kill Perma autofill, but Fisher mode's onto the Nexus. He's got the lethal tempo. It should be enough. It is Disastrous Gang Academy taking game number 1.
Yeah, DGA, they find the Baron, and they're all like off of just a number of punishes, right? The Baron ends up getting taken because Mythic, they tried to commit looking for Lithy Floresca, but it's so hard for them to take down this very, very tanky Sejuani, who's so far ahead. You can see ending 0-1-19 on the score. So they burnt so much time, they were unable to commit for the kill on the jungler. They get punished through the Baron, and with that Baron, DGA was very enabled to just close out the rest of the game.
Yeah, they were. I think, not necessarily the cleanest of early games, but once we got out of the early game, once we got past the laning phase, I think DGA played very, very well, except for the dragons, which they kind of just ignored throughout the game. That ended up working out. The macro plays other than that were good. I think they took good fights in the late game, mid game. Overall, they played very, very well once they got past a little bit of inting in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the towers for both teams in this game. Tower difference, honestly, just so substantial in this game. You gotta give them a shout out every now and then.
Yeah, I think the towers finished off like 4 or 5 kills in this game.
That's honestly insane.
Yeah, really doing a lot of damage. Perma autofill, I know himself died 3 times, so half his deaths were to the turret, and Wolfie went down a couple of times as well. So kind of a wild first game. Fortunately, this is a best of 3, so the action is not done yet. We're going to step aside as we prepare for game number 2. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back, everybody. Game number 2 coming your way right now between Disastrous Gang Academy and Team Mythic. It is 1-0 at the current moment in favor of DGA, looking to make it a clean 2-0 on their quest to secure their second place seed in the playoffs here in the Void Group Style Esports Season 4 on the caster desk. I am Jarl Carl alongside Truelight.
Yeah, we are getting into that second champion select here on that pro draft. As you can see, DGA, they still don't have their bans due to having that substitute in there, although they won that first game rather convincingly overall, except, tower difference, so to speak. Otherwise, Mythic, you can see the adjustment coming in so far. Banning the blue side Caitlyn because they don't want to play against it. In addition to taking the Shen away, perhaps they feel like Stand United enabled DGA's comp just a little bit too much in the previous game.
Potentially, I think the bans make a lot of sense. Banning Caitlyn away first pick, you don't want to be giving that away, even though they themselves did play it in the last game. You do not want to lose out on that selection. I am interested to see whether the Sejuani or the Xayah and or Rakan will get banned away, depending on what they think is more important. I would expect one of those 3 champions to be banned.
Yeah, generally when I see the Xayah Rakan combo attacked, it's usually taking away Rakan just because he can enable the entire team as opposed to just synergizing with Xayah. But they didn't take either of those away and instead opted to ban the Jarvan. So DGA, it looks like they have their pick of whatever they want here, and they first pick Ornn, which, I think is a pretty good top laner, but I'm not 100% sure it's, first pick worthy if you're blue side.
I agree. I don't think that's worth the first pick, personally. I wouldn't be surprised for them to pick up Xayah Rakan if they're given the chance right now, and they'll be able to pick at least one of them. Of course, you don't really want to pick one without the other, so I don't expect Mythic to be playing either of those champions right here. We'll have to see, of course, the Sejuani being picked up. So a little bit of a copycat on this one, but some tanks coming through on both sides. Also, Darius in the top lane, something we have seen pop off time and time again.
Yeah, not just that, Darius can be a champion that punishes Ornn to an extent, as long as you can find the additional damage with Decimate. You can pull Ornn back in, get the additional, get the auto attack reset, get the slowdown, you get the hemorrhage stacking, and then you get the Noxian Guillotine. That's true damage, which Ornn can't really neutralize, or unlike the bonus resistances, mean absolutely nothing in regards to Darius. So potentially Mythic looking for kind of what they went for in the previous game, which was early game, lane dominant picks. And they have the Thresh there as the support. And you can see DGA, they got what they went for last game with that Xayah Rakan combo in the bot lane.
A very similar comp to what they had in the last game, I think it's fair to say so far. Just the Ornn in the top, a little bit different than the Shen, of course. I was not actually that impressed by the Xayah Rakan play. In lane, not a lot of appropriate target selection. They were not one-shotting the AD carry, which is exactly what you want to be doing with Xayah Rakan. They didn't push for level 2 as well. So I have a decent number of criticisms for their laning phase, at least, which I think is one of the stronger parts of Xayah Rakan. In the end, it worked out fine. She did some damage in the late game, but a lot of that game I think also came down to the LeBlanc in the mid from perma autofill, despite some early difficulties. Kind of the story of that whole game for DGA, but I'm looking for them to step up in the Xayah Rakan, or I don't think the priority is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, the Xayah Rakan wasn't super stellar. It wasn't lane dominant. Mythic, they're now attacking the jungle pool overall, considering their previous 2 bans. But one thing you did touch on just there was perma autofill in that mid lane, right? On the LeBlanc in the last game. And as you mentioned, despite having a number of mistakes in the early game, specifically dying to tower 3 different times, I appreciate that perma autofill was still confident in himself, playing forward, playing aggressively, looking for the one shot that he knew he could find onto Pandas, or just pressuring Papa continuously with the strength of the LeBlanc pick. And eventually that aggression was rewarded by the end of the game. You can recall right there that Papa actually had 24 stacks on a Magi Soul Stealer, which I think enables him pretty hard, and might be more of a testament to how strong he might feel on something like an assassin in mid lane. But Mythic, they round out their bot lane going for Ezreal, so it's going to be Thresh Ezreal versus Xayah Rakan. I think that's kind of interesting overall. But let's see what DGA, they decide to pick blind in the mid lane and answer with jungle.
for sure. The Trundle, the situation, the hover at least. Zyricon, I think, will have a much easier lane against Thresh Ezreal than they did against Caitlyn Rakan, Caitlyn Alistar, excuse me. Thresh Ezreal is not a lane that really can kill you. Ezreal just doesn't have that much early game damage. Zyricon was one of the few lanes that Ezreal Yumi really lost to back in the day that just had too much damage. So I'm looking for them to play very aggressive in this lane. I know Flay can stop their grand entrance, but I think it's just too easy to get onto one of these champions and really blow them up. They don't have a lot of escape, don't have a ton of mobility. Ezreal's Arcane Shift is on like almost a 30-second cooldown these days. So I really want to see an aggressive bot lane played, and I'm also very excited to see the Syndra blind in the mid.
Yeah, that Syndra blind in the mid, that's actually something that you wanted to see from TGA last time around when they had the counter pick. You said, Syndra is the battle mage, like that's what you want to see with the similar composition that they had the previous game. I think in general, they want to get the same things done in the second game here that they got done in the first, and perhaps Syndra really fits more into that archetype. Although on the side of Mythic, you do see that response to the Syndra, and it's going to be Galio.
I don't love the comp right now for Mythic. I think they're low on damage if Darius doesn't get ahead. I think this is a composition that really wants this Darius to pop off. Ornn can put up a fight to Darius, certainly in the top lane. He's not going to kill him. That's not happening. But I think Ornn can survive against the Darius, and I think that's really what they need to do in this game. Let the Syndra, let the Xayah scale up. I think Mythic's comp, once again, is just low on damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing about Mythic's composition is that its damage is going to be heavily biased towards Darius if the Darius can get going. But assuming Darius doesn't get going, not many people on this comp are actually doing damage until Ezreal starts getting his items in, starts getting that tier completely stacked up. Because otherwise, Galio, Sejuani, Thresh, like what's their damage threat? And if the Darius doesn't pull away in lane and have a really significant advantage, I think Mythic's just going to be really hard pressed to get much done in the team fight. And on the side of DGA, they want team fights to happen, especially with Call of the Forge God, subjugation from Trundle, able to reduce the resistances of Sejuani, Thresh, Galio, whoever they choose to ult in those situations. But then in addition, you also have that team fighting bot lane with the Xayah Rakan, Syndra looking for the stuns. DGA, they really want to force a team fight, and I can't imagine that if Mythic, they don't pull ahead in their lanes, especially in that top lane, that they'd be too enabled to fight a team fight very efficiently.
I agree. I think this is a very similar comp to last game for DGA right now. The Trundle, kind of the weird pick out as the LeBlanc was in the last game, but he'll become a tank when he ults Sejuani. That's really what you want to do. You can steal so many resistances. You have Ornn in the front line as well, Xayah Rakan and Syndra. I think there's less threat on them actually than there was in game number 1, especially on the Xayah and Syndra, the carries in the back line. How do you access them? Probably Darius, they have some dive, right? Darius, Sejuani, and Galio can all try to get into the back line, maybe a Death Sentence lands as well. I just think it's a lot less simple than it was in the last game, where you had the Lissandra point and click, you had Vi point and click, that kind of thing, trap on top of that as well for the one shot. So I think the carries will be able to stay safe for DGA, and once again, I like their draft more.
Yeah, and I think overall on the side of Mythic, you don't necessarily see the tools for a more proactive degree of play. Like you mentioned just now, in the first game, they had Vi, they had Lissandra, these champions that have points and click CC, they have easy paths in and are able to commit onto their targets no matter what. But on the side of Mythic this time around, you have Darius, Sejuani, and Galio, all of whom, as you said, can dive, but their ability to execute on a dive isn't necessarily as strong as their previous compositions, and it really feels like their comp overall lacking in identity, lacking in a clear degree of execution of what you want to get done, not a ton of team fight ability. But then in addition to that, I think there's also a pretty significant lack of wave clear. So if Mythic start to fall behind more and more and more, DGA, they can really start snowballing with the composition that they've drafted.
I agree. I think, and the thing is also that there's multiple members that can snowball, and that really helps out a team. Last game, it was mostly the Xayah show. This game, the Cinder can get really far ahead. I know the LeBlanc turned out to get really far ahead. We just didn't think that she would, based on that lane matchup. And for a while, she really wasn't that strong, actually, in the mid lane. I think the Cinder can do very well, farm themselves up. It's more of a dual threat comp, the Trundle providing a little bit as well if he gets really strong. So I like this comp. I think there's a lot of fallback points, right? If mid lane wins, you can still win the game. If bot lane wins, you can win the game, even if everybody else is losing. I think the main key for this team, actually, to win this game is that the Living Dead guy doesn't lose. I think their main win condition is just not losing. Sounds obvious, right? But I think Darius is probably the only champion that can actually carry this game for the side of Team Mythic. I don't think that the Ezreal will be enough unless it gets very far ahead, which I really don't expect in this bot lane. Zyra Khan losing to an Ezreal Thresh to that level of magnitude, I think would be a very big surprise, especially after the performance in game number 1. So right now, I think it's all on Wolfie if they want to win this game on the side of Team Mythic.
Yeah, absolutely. But definitely, as you said, eyes on the Living Dead guy in that top lane. Make sure that Wolfie doesn't pull ahead. Sorry for speaking in terms of DGs. Things to get done right there. Or you want the champion to survive, especially once you hit I think it's level 13 now, right? You get those forge items in, and it provides so much additional gold value, not just to his team, but Ornn gets to have 2 items in addition to that, and that's roughly 2k gold more into his pocket, becoming so much more tankier, but also like a nice addition of damage in some respects. Because one thing that's so key about Ornn, at least in my opinion, is that Ornn is someone that's going to surprise you every single time with the amount of damage he can deal out with Bellows Breath, getting those brittle procs down. Call of the Forge God applies it twice, and you can effectively, in a lot of situations, I think 60 to 70% combo somebody down as long as you get every single brittle proc, land all of your other abilities, and that's what creeps up on people. There's actually a surprising amount of kill pressure from the champion, especially in a 1v1, because he can be so punishing for a misplay.
Ornn does a lot of damage. Ornn, of course, the joke a while ago was that he had all the roles, right? He was, the tank mage, bruiser, assassin, marksman, everything through there. But Ornn hurts in a 1v1, like you just said. Even against Darius at some points of the game, you'll probably see him beating down onto Wolfie if he's able to get the right combo, maybe if Wolfie misplays a little bit. So I don't think that this lane is as open and shut as it normally would be with Darius versus some kind of a tanky bruiser where he just wins by default. We'll have to see how it plays out. Of course, Wolfie still very possibly could get ahead quite strong and try to carry the game for his team. But we'll have to check that out when we get onto the Rift. We're going to load onto it so we can show it to you. We're going to step aside for a couple of minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Rift, everybody. Game number 2 is ready to roll right now. We have Disastrous Gang Academy on the blue side and Team Mythic on the red side, looking to even up the series 1-1. DGA trying to end it in a clean 2-0. Jarl Carl alongside True Light on the call.
Yeah, after that first game, DGA, they're definitely, I would say, well positioned to look for the 2-0, despite not having the bans. They had a very good showing with a little bit of that shaky early game. But I guess you could call that nerves. Otherwise, thinking about the start of this game at the level 1, look at some of these runes and these keystone runes. Phase Rush onto Perma Autofill, Summoner Spellbook on the side of Poiba, both of them having Cleanse. I think that's really interesting and rather surprising given their particular lane matchups. But in addition to that, you can see Bobzai in this game not opting in for Aftershock like you see a lot of Threshes go for, instead using the Guardian, perhaps feeling like it'll keep himself and Pandas that much safer in lane versus the aggression of Zyrakan.
He might think that, but True Light, I don't think it will. Personally, I think the Aftershock really helps with a bunch of burst. I think, sure, it's going to be a little bit of a shield for Pandas, but typically when you're against Zyrakan, it's not a matter of surviving with 15 HP or not. It's a matter of you're either at 80% or you're dead. For the most part, because it's going to be a huge amount of burst coming through. Sure, the shield is helpful. I think the Aftershock would be much more efficient at saving himself from those plays. We might see a level 2 gank as well. I think this is very smart. Just try to get them rolling. Pandas is in so much trouble. So is Bob. There's the engaged flash immediately away from the grand entrance, but Bob is still in trouble. Pillar goes down. He's going to have to flash as well. May have the Flay available. Takes a bite out of him. That's a nice start to the lane for DG, although they are going to lose some experience from that play as well.
Yeah, forcing double flashes with just a simple walk on you gank, right? Poiba didn't flash forward, even looking for a grand entrance right there. And now in this bottom lane, you're down flash on the Ezreal, flash on the Thresh. I feel like, in a couple of minutes, we're probably going to see Lithy Floresta come down for a bit of a rinse repeat gank. Just to make sure that the bottom lane continues to stay completely hampered in favor of Poiba and Fisho mode. But one thing actually that gank going here in the mid lane.
In the mid lane, Perma Autofill. What a great scatter of the week onto Papa, just shutting that play down.
Yeah, I mean, with I think he actually got a double stun onto both Papa and Brecken right there. But one thing I wanted to at least build on a little, like you said there, for Bobzai and Pandas, is that I completely agree with you. I think that Aftershock would do a lot more in terms of keeping Bob alive than it would in terms of keeping Pandas alive, because Pandas, you're on the Ezreal, you're going to have the Arcane Shift as a safety tool eventually, but fight potentially breaking out here in the jungle, or river rather.
Brecken could be in some trouble. The living dead guy needs to be moving down. Perma Autofill gonna have to run themselves away. This is not a great fight. They're now down in numbers. Brecken tries to get some vision, but some vision is not some damage. Floreska in all sorts of trouble. Does have flash. Wolfie misses the Q. A little bit of time. He's gonna get knocked up into the air. Perma Autofill, they gotta burst down this Darius before anything else. First blood in favor of the living dead guy. Floreska flashing himself away. Going to do a lot of work there. Brecken, no flash left. Gonna get taken down. One more auto attack to the face. A double kill for the living dead guy.
Yeah, and that is a bit of a nightmare situation if you are the side of DGA, right? The one you wanted to get ahead, the one you wanted to get those early kills on, Wolfie, not only does he end up dying, but both of the kills that happened in that fight go on to the living dead guy, who's only going to become tankier and healthier. Already 150 gold bounty off of both those kills, but in the bottom lane, there's an engage. Okay.
And nothing happens.
Yeah, but just to finish the thought right there, the thing that kept Lithy Floreska alive was the fact that Perma Autofill came in and helped finish off the Scuttle Crab, and that created the movement speed shrine that gave Lithy Floreska the little bit of movement speed he needed to get away and make sure he doesn't die, doesn't give that full huge AD buff to Wolfie after getting a kill. So little small advantages coming up huge for DGA.
DGA.
DGA. it's the team switching every single time. It gets me.
Yeah, they just it's probably easier for them, right? They just kind of
Oh
switch.
yeah.
Nobody notices, and that is obviously a joke. I hope they know what team they're on. Otherwise, we got some bigger problems than anything else. But anyway, we're gonna move on from whatever the hell I'm saying right now. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Papa taking some damage. This is kind of how Galio lanes go. He takes a bunch of spells in the face from some kind of a mage, doesn't actually take that much damage, and then walks himself away. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Floresca coming in at an excellent time. That's the grand entrance as Bob right now. You do not have Aftershocks are walking himself away. Another little walk by gank. Not a whole lot achieved from that one.
Yeah, and I personally think that was intentional from Boiba to just walk forward like that and just very aggressively. As you can see, that Lithia Floresca was there in the bottom lane in the bush. But in addition to that, as Rakan, he doesn't really mind being in that position because it pulls him that much more forward. It gives him actually a pretty favorable position to use Grand Entrance either onto Bob's Eye or Pandas. But then on top of all of that, even if he does eat the hook and he doesn't want to get hooked, he has cleanse anyway. But there in the top lane, that's some aggressive trading.
Yeah, that is a bit of a fight going on. That is Ornn bopping onto Wolfie. Dragon goes down. That is the Ocean Dragon. Call the Forge God. We're going to see the cage at the top. Actually, he's healing up with that Ocean every so often. There's the knockup onto Wolfie, taking so much damage. Does have Flash available. I don't think he'll be going down, but that is a huge trade. Wolfie trying to go in. I don't really think you're going to win this fight, sir. Interesting decision making. The bop to the face. He's flashing himself away. Can he get himself away? I don't feel he's going to be able to. The living dead guy on a killing spree, styling on the Darius.
I have no idea why Wolfie stuck around in the bush there. Maybe he thought that with the fully stacked hemorrhage and with the passive AD that you get when you get the full hemorrhage stacks, perhaps he could outplay it, get the solo kill, and start turning things around for him. But because of the greed, because he stuck around inside that bush, he ends up going down. Living dead guy now on a killing spree, 3-0, working towards the Ninja Tabby, already has the Bomby Cinder very well positioned to continue doing well in this game.
Yeah, 3-0 Ornn is not something you want to be laning against, especially if you're a damage character. This is a very scary Ornn right now, and the Mercury Tread's completed already. That will not have a lot of impact against the Darius specifically, but against the rest of the map, every other member does a sizable portion of their damage in the magic category. This Ornn is very, very tanky already. Any kind of a teleport play that might come through, once that's back up in a couple of minutes, I think is going to have a ton of impact, much more than Wolfie will have, whose teleport is also up a little bit later.
Yeah, not just that, but in terms of that Merc Treads buy, with the exception of Wolfie and Pandas, every single one of them has a form of CC that can be reduced by tenacity, but potential here in the mid lane for something to go on. No? Okay.
Yeah, Perma Autofill just walks off.
Yeah, doesn't even have the flash there. Did have the cleanse, but as you said, literally with the ice in his veins, he stays cool, walks away from the aggression. But yeah, with the potential tenacity, not just off the Merc Treads, but assuming that Living Dead guy went for unflinching, that also means that based on his missing health, he can have somewhere around 50% tenacity, which against Thresh Hook means that he only gets stunned for 1 second. Oh, wow, that was aggressive.
It is a party time in the bot lane. Poiba is like 5 XP away from having that ultimate. Not going to be available. Oh, Fisher mode, you got to flash that. Get a flash now. I don't think he's going to survive this in the end of the day, though. Blade Caller could come through, though. Huge amount of damage. Pulls it back to Feathers. Oh, he's so low. Picks up the first kill. He has Triumph as well. He's going to be healing under the tower. Bob trying to do his best to trade back Pandas as well under the tower. That's the Dark Passage. He's not going to be in. He stays alive. Fisher mode. What a great play. Perma autofill is here as well. Bob goes down. The cleanse out from Papa. This is disaster for Team Mythic right now. The entire play goes completely awry. Papa walking himself away, but it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. A huge play by Fisho mode. He is going sicko mode under the turret.
Yeah, I mean, things just going from good to bad to worse, and the aggression continues. Wolfie out of position.
Wolfie trying to go for a Noxian guillotine, but it's just going to be his own death he can look forward to. In the mid lane, the quickness come through. The flash expended as well. Papa's got no way out. He might just walk his way out, though. That's a lot of damage being traded back. That play didn't quite go as planned.
Yeah, I mean, in that particular situation right there, Wolfie, he actually ran out of mana, so he wasn't able to get the Noxian guillotine and have the reset and potentially turn the 1v2. What you might even just call unlucky one more time. But thinking about that bottom lane fight, it went from good to bad to worse for the side of Mythic. They found the kill onto Poiba, who used the cleanse rather late, get the Glacial Prison onto Fisho mode, but Fisho mode able to stay alive ever so much longer. The tower doing just enough hits, but I think the thing that actually killed Brecken was a hero cannon minion that was just on the verge of death, getting that final shot in, securing the kill, getting the triumph proc, giving the little bit of healing Fisho mode needed. Bobzai and Pandas had already committed under the tower, but Pandas unable to secure the kill. They end up killing Brecken, Pandas and Bobzai off of it, I believe. So absolute tragedy. But here in the top lane,
goes down. You gotta pop the ultimate subjugate finally through. It's the tank versus tank showdown, but Noxian Guillotine not actually quite available yet. Don't think it's gonna make a whole lot of difference. Living Dead guy likely gonna be going down. This should be the shutdown. He flashes, fail flashes, not gonna get over the wall. The shutdown in favor of Wolfie. 600 gold in his pocket.
Yeah, definitely good to finally get that shutdown there. As you said, the Noxian Guillotine wasn't available for Wolfie, but they were able to kill the Ornn, which is only going to be harder and harder as time goes on. Nice little interrupt there from Bobzai. But otherwise, even in spite of things not looking too hot there, I don't think there were a ton of ultimates available on the side of Mythic, or on the side of DG, I'm sorry. So it still looked rather good, everything being considered, but that's also what happens when they have such a huge advantage. But the fight in the bot lane about to happen.
Behind. Panda does not have Arcane Shift, just use it. Call the Forge God comes across onto multiple members. That's the knockup, that's the Quatus. What a huge combo. The bot lane eviscerated off the map. Lincoln, he missed it on this one. Papa having to run himself away. That's a double kill for Fisho mode, not what Team Mythic was hoping for.
Yeah, Fisho mode is absolutely huge on this Xayah. 4-0-1, 500 gold bounty to his name. One more, it's okay. One more CS lane minion will finish off the cull in addition to that. So you take a look at the gold right now. Probably going to go up to just shy. Yeah, there it is. Just shy of 2k gold over Pandas, which, being on that scaling Ezreal pick definitely doesn't feel good when the enemy AD carry is starting to scale up incredibly hard.
Yeah, this Xayah has a lot of money in inventory as well. 2,200 will be able to complete the boots, and the Essence Reaver already has the Kircher shard of their name, and Pandas could actually be in trouble here. Stops the recall. Wouldn't actually have stopped the recall overall because he only stopped one of them due to that Xayah Rakan passive, but in the end, they're both canceled. They're going to stick in lane for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, and there in the mid lane, you can see Brecken hovering around. Bobzai is there too, but
the dodges.
Yeah, and even if the hook lands right there, right, Perma Autofill still has the cleanse available.
Yeah, Pandas is playing with fire in this bot lane. Arcane Shift goes down, actually in the top lane as well. We're seeing a dive onto a Darius. This does not seem like it's going to go well, but he doesn't have any mana, actually. Everybody going to have to get themselves out of this one. Hero's Entrance did come through. Floresca could be in some trouble here. Very low, stunned up Brecken, picking up that kill. That dive, a little bit overeager.
Yeah, just that much continued, over aggression, so to speak, coming from both these teams. Ooh, a little bit of a face plant there with the Justice Punch. But you can see there that Lithy Floresca actually casted Subjugate onto Wolfie, but the problem, I think, ended up being that Living Dead guy didn't find a way in just because of how Wolfie was hugging the wall and the tower. They weren't able to turn the dive into a kill, and they ended up getting punished off of it. Mythic, they're definitely not in a great spot, but they are showing, a few signs of life through the solid punish coming through right there.
Their punishes have been good. I will say that. There's a quickness in the bot lane, though. Panda's in so much trouble. The flash away. He does not have heal. He is going to go down to one more auto attack. Proiva finally giving up on his AD carry, not saying, I don't have enough faith in you. Steals the kill away, but he earned it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those situations where Rakan being, I think, a 300 range champion actually works out quite well for him. Able to get that final auto attack in, put Pandas in the ground for the third time now this game, and it looks like they're going to be trying to wrap up this bottom lane outer turret.
Might also be trying to go for the play onto Bob. I think he just killed the turret before you go in for this, but they're going to go in for it anyway. Stopwatch down. That's the kill. Onto Floresca. Another dive that is way too aggressive. Fisho mode to flash away. Don't think it's going to be enough. He's going down. That's another shutdown. Poiba going to die as well. 3 kills going over. You got to finish off that tower first. Another over-eager play by the side of Disastrous Gang.
Yeah, DGA, as you said, just before that play broke out, they've been getting punished for their overaggression. They're biting off way more than they can chew. And in that situation, they tried to dive Bob's Eye while the tower was still very much alive. And then Brecken shows up, continues with that punish. You saw the True Shot Barrage there come through, but I don't think it hit anybody. But then Papa also comes down, wraps up the kill onto Poiba, and that's just absolutely tragic for the side of DGA, as now things are starting to turn around. Just a couple of seconds, or just a couple of minutes ago, rather, they were down something like 3K gold, but that gap is becoming smaller and smaller off of these very strong punishes from Mythic.
Certainly is. Perma autofill in some trouble. A nice flash from him, able to get the ultimate, that unleashed power. Wolfie gone immediately. Perma autofill trying to get himself away from this one. He is bleeding out, but I think he's going to be fine. Brecken now has to find a bit of solace in the middle of the jungle, going to get knocked up and slapped down by the Ornn. That's another 2 kills picked up for DGA. They're fighting back.
Yeah. Oh wow, that was a really wide hook, but
we're going to go to the tower, True Light. Puebla going very deep. They've had this problem before, but he does have the stopwatch. A huge burst of damage. Bob picking up that one. Perma autofill getting himself away from the tower. Tower goes down in the mid lane. They're going to be continuing this push onto the mid inner turret. 5 men strong in the mid.
Yeah, 5 men strong. They are well positioned to take that inner tower. Whoa, Fish mode, taking a lot of damage from the turret.
Woo! He's calculated, he's saying.
That's the type of damage that you see that's just the most painful feeling in the world, because it's like, wow, if I had gotten that damage in 1 second sooner, probably wouldn't have lived. Oh dear.
Everybody, Puebla, that may not have been the smartest re-engage that I've ever seen. A nice scat of the week from Perma autofill, I think, gets them out though.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just a continuation of the same narrative that we've been seeing and throughout this entire game, right? Oh, TP used from Wolfie looking for something, wasn't able to get anything. But yeah, the proactive plays are way better on the side of DGA, but the punishes are far more effective on the side of Mythic. So it's just that dichotomy of these two teams, right? One's one's playing towards more counter play, the other one's playing towards more active play, but everything being considered, it's not a 100% counter situation, although playing proactively, starting things on your terms, is working out very well on the side of DGA.
Yeah, definitely is. Gold lead has expanded to 5,000 once again. So back up from 2,000, which was then down from 3,000. So, take 1 step back, take 2 steps forward, or in this case, 3, if a step equals 1,000 gold. This analogy is going nowhere fast. Anyway, in the top lane, we got the bot lane against both solo winners, actually, from Team Mythic. So a lot of power put up here to try to stop the bot lane from pushing down this tower. I think they'll be successful. You can't really overextend that far on Zyra Khan, although they haven't shown any hesitation to do so. If you go up a little bit too far, the jungler could be here. You're not going to be winning that fight. These beefier members are just pretty hard for Zyra to take down until she has the Infinity Edge really rolling through. So I think they're just up here to kind of farm and slowly pressure this tower down against Wolfie.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the Infinity Edge right there. And with the pickaxe, I do think that Fisher mode's working towards it. But I think the other thing is you can also see the Kirchi shard in his pocket, also trying to get ready for the rapid fire cannon. Whoa, Wolfie, I think he's dead. Yeah.
He is gone almost straight away. The True Shot Barrage not having a whole lot of impact on that one as well. I want to touch on that point. He bought the Kircher Shard last game too, before he built the Infinity Edge. So I think just going for a little bit more attack speed before he builds that rest of that AD, this fight may continue 4 versus 4. Call the Forge God, maybe just for disengage, might have been just a little bit worried.
Yeah, that Call of the Forge God coming in a little bit late because I feel like the DGA had already effectively completely disengaged from the fight. But it's not a terribly long cooldown, although I don't think Living Dead Guy has itemized into any CDR quite yet. So they need to sit on that for a little bit. No huge objectives spawning very soon. Hook lands.
Hook goes down. We may actually see a fight here. It's a 4 versus 2. Living Dead Guy does have flash. Going to have to use that quite soon if he wants to escape the situation. There it is. Floresca waiting for the last comment, but he decides to go the other direction. They do extricate themselves.
Yeah, and that's flash used versus the Glacial Prison from Brecken. And assuming a fight starts out rather soon, that actually might be to Mythic's detriment. Living Dead Guy, you're the tank. You don't really care about dying so long as your team is able to survive and win the fight. But they're also a little bit more well enabled to win the fight, considering that Brecken doesn't have Glacial Prison available, which is, Sejuani's most effective team fighting ability. And it's also your engage for the most part on the side of Mythic. I don't think that they have many other tools to engage a fight outside of Bobzai finding a hook, and that's only onto a single target.
Indeed. Infinity Edge money available for Fisho Mode when he goes back. So the next team fight almost certainly will feature that item. That is the point where you really can rip through almost any member of a team, except like a true tank. You still won't be able to take down a Mundo that's completely full tank. But the Sejuani that just has a lot of health, you are going to be able to get through her just fine with the Infinity Edge and that Kyocha Shard. This is going to be a pretty big buy for Xayah. I think she is the main character to watch in this next team fight.
Yeah, and not just that, there's a bit of a tragedy going on. Oh,
might be a bit of a tragedy going on in the bot lane as well. Pandas could be in trouble getting knocked up. Floresca's here as well. Flash available to get to the other side of the pillar. You don't want to continue this once again. We have seen this movie before. They decided to change the ending.
Yeah, I mean, they get the fire pillar down, they burst that for the knock-up, and then they get the ice pillar from Trundle, just following up with those elements, right? But one thing I was trying to say was rather interesting to see is, oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to say it right now either. Double stun comes across Scatter of the Weak. Papa, no way to get out of this fight except for that flash. Has burned that one. A lot of summoners being used right now by Team Mythic to escape themselves. Perma autofill. We'll see when the spells come back up. You can probably go for the one-shot onto Ezreal. Where's the Unleashed Power? There it is. He is taken down. Cleanse to get themselves out of safety as well. Living Dead guy. So tanky. Double kill for Perma autofill as DGA are running over this fight. The top lane as well going very well for them. That play didn't quite work out. The stun comes across. Perma autofill going to be just fine. Living Dead guy not able to find any follow-up. But the 2 versus 1 in the top lane going well at the same time. Inner towers taken down across the map.
Yeah, 2 inner towers falling across the map. Oh, and the aggression continues.
That isn't even that exciting. They just kind of one-shot him. True Light, back over to you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Poiba used the flash. I wanted to give him the credit for going in right there. But one thing I was going to say was a little bit tragic. It's not very relevant anymore. But at the time, Brecken, when he was still level 10, he had that Warmogs completed, but was sitting at 2,998 health, which is pretty frustrating in regards to having Warmog. But anyway, that's not really relevant anymore. Was able to hit the level 11, has that 3,000 health threshold reached, but as you can see there, that Mountain Drake has spawned, and they are looking to get the stack on it, go up to Soul Point. And what worked so well in that bottom lane around that inner tower was the fact that this time around, looking for the dive, you had Lithy Floresca cast Subjugate onto Brecken. And in addition to that, you had Living Dead guy on this Ornn. You have these 2 champions who feel like hyper tanks with that Subjugate on the Trundle, and they're able to effectively dive the inner tower. The cleanse kept Perma autofill safe, wrapped up the kill, as you said, with the Unleashed Power, and now DGA, they are firing on all cylinders, looking to siege, and they've already cracked the base in the bottom lane, so very well positioned to close this series out.
They absolutely are. Also, Xayah item check. She went back for the base after that whole play and bought the Infinity Edge and bought the Rapid Fire Cannon. So the double item purchase there for her, that is very scary. Wolfie has no chance of getting away from this one. You don't even need the quickness. Xayah would have finished him off, but he goes down Fisho mode, making quick work of the Axeman.
Yeah, gets the auto attack in there, and Wolfie already knowing he's going to go down. Actually, a little bit of a negative trade overall, I suppose, when you consider that Poiba did pop the quickness for it, but he has 20% CDR, and his team, they're the ones with the vision and the setup around the Baron.
This is a very rapid Baron from this team. No chance of a contest. I don't even know if they're aware it's going on the side of Team Mythic. It's already below half. No contest on this one. Baron for DGA.
Yeah, wait. Rakan, you can see Poiba actually swapped over to the Smite, but I don't think he actually used it. Looks like he still has it.
Just helping, question mark? I don't know. He just wanted to feel included, you know?
He switched to it and pinged it. That's the only thing that's a bit weird in my opinion. But hey, I guess now he has Smite for
a minion.
Yeah. Look, maybe they play aggressively. Maybe they send Fisho Mode and Poiba up towards the top lane again because that red buff will be spawning in short order. That's also very wishful thinking. Oh wait, no, it's their own red buff.
Poiba could steal it though with the Smite. No, unfortunate. He already used it. Back to his normal summoner spell. Okay, we'll quit memeing.
Hey, for a little bit there, the dream was real. um,
True. No more dreams though. Our dreams were just memes. It turns out. Hook
Ooh.
dodge in the mid lane. Nice push right now. This Xayah just is influencing so much pressure right now on the map. She is drawing enemy members towards her, but she just does so much damage. How do you get on top of her? Right? She has flash. She has ultimate. You just can't do it. And I think that Team Mythic is just going to get slowly beaten down in this game. Wolfie on the flank. Even that, I don't think is going to do anything. Yeah, perma autofill already onto him. Q going down, and the zone is just very strong.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Fisho mode with the Ardent Sensor completed on Poiva as well, you pop W on Xayah, you have that nice burst of attack speed, and as you can see, actually able to get enough feathers down to use the Blade Collar and actually root Brecken very, very quickly. So that's how strong Fisho mode is just at 25 minutes into this game. But the fight is starting.
This is going to be the fight. Fisher mode very safe on the other side of the wall. This is a great fight right now for Disastrous Gang Academy, and they are showing it. Wolfie over the wall, not going to be able to do anything. Poiba picks up the kill there. 3 for 0, I should say, so far. 4 for 0. Make that 5 for 0 as True Light. This is a very rapid end to the game, but it is Disastrous Gang Academy coming up huge, looking much cleaner in game number 2. They take the series over Team Mythic.
Yeah, really covering up, or not really covering up, but amending the massive, or not massive, but significant number of mistakes that they made very early on in the first game. This time around, there were instances, I think, that Mythic could have had a positive play in the early game, but there was no tower to be had for them this time around. And they end up losing, not just in the early game, but like throughout the game overall. There's no additional punishes coming through, but to compliment them for what I think they did get right, the number of counter plays they had, right, punishes for the overcommits, the over aggression. It's good to be able to recognize that if you are Mythic. The problem is that you don't just win the game by capitalizing on mistakes. Sometimes that works, but you also need to be able to make the proactive plays, dictate the game, make the enemy team play into you. And that's what DG played here on the Rift today. They played their game, they dictated, and I liked to see that.
Yeah, they certainly did. I think they made some mistakes, especially in the start of the first game. I think nerves, is definitely a, reasonable idea about what was going on there. But after that, it looked very, very clean. The Xayah Khan bot lane looked much better in game number 2. I think really playing up to their potential, especially with a sub too. The coordination seemed to be on point. Their macro plays were a lot better. They were able to secure dragons. They got that Baron for themselves, and really just didn't look like they were ever going to have a problem in game number 2, especially after those early kills went over, in favor of the Ornn. They looked in control basically from the word go.
Yeah, and as you said there, they were in control from the get-go, so to speak. And because they were so heavily in control of this game and of this series overall, they're the ones who walk away with the victory, and they win 2-0, looking to just completely cement themselves in that second place spot in their group, right?
Yeah, they definitely are. So, we'll see how that works out for them. A couple more games to go. The playoffs will start coming your way this upcoming Saturday. So that's when the playoffs will start. We will have 15 days of playoffs, 5 days of semifinals, 5 days of finals, and 5 days of promotion relegation matches. Those last 2 groups will be best of 5. So we'll have 10 days of best of 5s coming your way here on Style Esports as we look toward the end of season 4 and the beginning of season 5 after it. But for now, I think that's going to do it for our broadcast tonight. If you want to learn more about Style Esports, you can do so at the links below. We have our Discord, website, YouTube, Twitter, and music credits. Check out the Discord if you want to be a part of the community, chat with the casters or the players, or potentially look to join a team if you think you have what it takes for season 5, which will start in just about 3.5 weeks. So if you have a team or if you just want to join one, you can do so at that Discord link. We also hope that you will join us for tomorrow's series. That is Thursday, August 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be Shadow Mustangs Unleashed versus Imperium Academy, fighting for playoff positioning in the Demacia group. That's a game you do not want to miss, so I hope we will see you then. But for now, that is all for the broadcast this evening. On behalf of myself, my colorcaster, True Light, Tori, who has been our fantastic host tonight, we thank you all so much for watching, and we hope to see you next time. Good night.